Hey there, it's Jessica at CKC, and I'm here again to show you how to complete your skirt for your Poppy's Peekaboo dress. The first thing is you've got your underskirt and your top skirt, and you should have cut two pieces for both the top skirt and the underskirt. I've already assembled mine, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I did because I know some of you were having some questions on this. The first thing you're going to notice is that your top skirt is shorter in width than your underskirt, and that's intentional. The pattern tells you to cut the top skirt about 4 inches or so shorter than the underskirt. So you'll sew down the short end of both of your top and your underskirt, and remember you've got your fabric right sides together when you're doing your sewing. And then after you have sewn the short sides, you're going to hem your skirt. And through the magic of Hollywood here, I have already done mine. I believe the pattern tells you to fold up a 1/4 inch and then fold up another 1/2 inch. I have a personal preference. I just wanted to do fold up a 1/4 inch and then fold up another 1/4 inch to just make a really small, kind of like a traditional rolled hem on my skirt pieces. So I've done that, sewn the two short sides together, hemmed on both my top skirt and my underskirt. Then the next step is to complete your ties that are going to go in the casing. So you've cut your pieces of fabric and you're going to assemble them like you would do bias tape, except we haven't cut them on the bias because you don't need to. It's not going to be curving around anything, so you cut your pieces nice and straight, and we're going to iron them down now. And you must use your iron in this step. Sometimes you can cheat and get away without using the iron, but this, when you're doing bias tape like this, you need nice sharp creases. So you fold in the raw edges on the end about 1 inch. It tells you in the pattern directions. So I folded in both, ironed it, got a nice sharp crease. Then you're going to fold it in half, so it would look something like this. Then you'll take the raw edges and you'll fold them in to where they just meet that crease that you made by folding it in half. So I folded it in, I ironed one side, then I folded it in on the other side at that halfway point and ironed it again, so that it ended up looking something like that. Then fold it one last time, and again ironing it so it's a nice sharp flat creases, and we end up with something that looks like this. Okay, and I believe the pattern directions tell you to just sew down the long edge. I like to sew my short edges and the long edge. Again, just a personal preference. Okay, so we've got our ties. Now let's talk about sewing the casing that's going to go on your skirt. Okay, so you have your piece of fabric that you cut. This one's a sample because I've already sewn mine down. And you're going to fold in a 1/2 inch on all of the raw edges so that none of those raw edges will be exposed when you end up putting it down onto your top skirt. Okay? Then you're going to get your top skirt piece, and in the pattern it gives you directions for how far in you should measure based on the size you're making, to measure in from the side seam. Whether you want to do the left or the front of the skirt, that's up to you. You can also do more than one casing. If you wanted to have 2 pickups on the front of your Poppy's Peekaboo dress, you could do one on the left seam and one on the right seam. If you want to have 4 pickups, so you have 2 in the front of the dress and 2 in the back of the dress, you can do it. You're just going to have to cut however many casings and ties and sew them down as you need. So I'm doing a 3T, actually I'm sorry, I'm doing a 4T skirt, And so I needed to measure in from my side seam about 8 inches, which I did. So from here to here was about 8 inches. Then I laid my casing down, and you just are going to line it up so it's just above your hemline, and you're going to sew 1/8 inch on both edges of the casing, and then you're going to sew right down the center of the casing. And you're going to leave the top open, and you're going to leave the bottom open. And that's because you're going to then take those ties that you finished in the previous step, take a safety pin or a bobbin or whatever you're going to use to help thread it through. And I'm filming this one-handed, so I can't demonstrate that for you, but I would just snake this up through that casing up to the top. I would line up once the tie gets right there to the edge, then, and I would do it on both. I'd feed both ties through there, and then I would just sew across the top so that it locks them in place so that they won't go anywhere on you. And then later on, after you've attached your skirt to your bodice, you'll be able to cinch them up and tie a cute little bow at the bottom, and this will be bunched up so that your underskirt peeks out from underneath. Okay, hope that makes sense and helps you get your skirt completed.